the hospital, and he's younger than he's 2 or 3 years younger than me, so he's younger than you. And if I had, no offense, Tito, but if I had to put you guys up side by side,
So,
who's
yeah,
affect more?
you'd be putting Esme's 529 money. Yeah,
And I'm a gambler,
me
you know
there.
that.
Yeah.
I'm a gambler, so I'd be like, but so that's important for people to know. Like, you can't just bully your way through this because you feel as though you're in wonderful shape. And it might not even be like the lungs thing. There might be different, not different strains of this, but it just hits different people differently.
Well, the other piece is any pre-existing conditions, and I want to bring this up and be very clear. Black people.
Yeah, I'm gonna get a beer for this one. Wait, I want you to tell our people what they need to know right now.
So I want folks. I don't know where this rumor came from. Cheers. Cheers.
Wait. We're a small commercial break. This is White Lion, a local Springfield beer, owned by a brother, Ray Berry. So I want to give Ray Berry a shout out. They're doing delivery locally.
Well, is Boston local?
I don't think so, but he's moving out that way. So
okay,
go ahead.
Okay. Well, Ray, when you pack up the truck, I need a couple of when they come in 4s or 6s. That looks like that stuff that comes in 4s, right?
It comes in 4s, but he got you.
Okay, I appreciate that. No, so I just want to be very clear. So viruses are here to cause mayhem, to take all of us out. So I want to be very clear that Black people do get corona, or COVID-19. And in fact, if you look at the data, the recent data that they put out from Michigan, so Black people, I know everyone thinks about Detroit, but Black people make up 14% of the population of the state of Michigan. Mm-hmm. Yet they are 40% of the diagnosed cases in the whole state of Michigan. So let's understand, healthcare disparities existed before Corona.
Exactly.
Right? So when we look at the rates of diabetes, when we look at the rates of asthma, hypertension, and on down the line, Black people, Latino people, oftentimes are at the tops of those lists.
Yep.
So understand, all of those disease states give you a predisposition or higher chance of getting the coronavirus. And so
on top of it, and I know a little bit about healthcare disparities. Shout out to State Senator Diane Wilkerson, who was leading on this back when I was working for her in like 2004, like 15, 20 years. Yeah, so she was the lead, and she had married it smartly enough to environmental justice. And so environmentally, so you might not be physically predisposed to certain things, but the fact that you're living in substandard housing, or the fact that there's a bus transfer station right next door and the little kids are growing up, now they're getting asthma, and now if you have asthma, it might go untreated, and Corona comes knocking on your door, it's going to hit you that much harder. And so
all of that, and poverty, right? So that's the other.
And folks are living on top of each other, and now they don't necessarily have the size refrigerator that I'm blessed with. So now they're exposing themselves to, and they're probably in a food desert. And so now they have to go to the bodega that everybody goes to grocery shop. And so, there was stuff going around early on that said Black people can't get corona.
So I want to assure you, we don't do well in scary movies. And we also, in the healthcare side, sadly enough, all of these disparities predated this, and they're going to be exacerbated. They're going to be widened by this, and we're seeing very prominent elders in our community being taken out. We recently lost Wynton Marsalis's dad.
Yep.
You have Bill Withers, who passed away today.
Is that COVID?
Yes.
Okay. I didn't. I thought I said Sutton Hart, but either way.
Okay. Oops, okay.
The guy locally you mentioned.
I'm messing it up. Yeah, and then you had and then you also have. This is not, it's not only old people, right? So the other piece here is that there's a 30 some odd year old. I think it was like maybe in his early 30s, who was in the Boston Globe. I think yesterday, who passed away. There's
Black kid?
What'd you say?
Black kid?
No, this is a white kid.
Yeah, so that 30-year-old, at least the one I know of, it went to my alma mater, went to Marist. He was a baseball coach. Baseball at Marist, and 30 years old. He was coaching at Don Bosco Prep, and 30 years old, he died, man. So age ain't gonna keep you safe. Race ain't gonna keep you safe. And on top of the healthcare disparities piece that we didn't mention, we mentioned physical, we mentioned environmental, but then there's a cultural competency issue, right? And so you have the doctor that you have a great relationship with, but some of these folks who culturally might not go to the doctors as often, and who might not know how to describe what they're feeling or know how to advocate for themselves. And now in this busy time, if you don't know how to advocate for yourself and you don't go to the doctors normally, you might, and again, there are all these people up there are great, the doctors and the nurses and everything, but there is a cultural competency issue, and Black folks sometimes don't do good when that thing happens as well.
And the problem is, hey, you and I have known each other for years. So if I give you a call and I kind of ask you for a favor, no biggie. If this is my first call to you, right? Can you fit me in today? You're like, well, who are you, right? So there's just that normal relationship component. So that's a critical piece that people definitely need to understand.
So let's lighten it up a little bit. I looked at your Facebook a little bit, and so since going through this, it seems like, and it's obviously no joking matter, right? Like COVID's no joking matter, but there's been some like lighthearted jokes. Is that part of how you're dealing with being positive, is having
so the piece that we want people to focus on living, and the thing that COVID-19 has positively done for me is it made me, Wale on his Twitter the other day said, this is making some people realize that they were addicted to being busy.
Okay.
Right. So for me, it's been like a reprioritization of like family, friends, a bunch of people who I wanted, like, I wanted to call you, my health and my mental wellness. Right. So just to kind of, one of my boys had a toast for his birthday on Zoom. So, I guess it's actually cheaper to drink on Zoom than it is at the bar. So that actually kind of worked out nice. You also have the best memes that I've ever seen.
It's been awesome.
And my mom called me, so I talk to my mom like every day. And so now I talk to my mom every day. And so she called and was like, you know what you need to do? You need to take some castor oil. And I'm like, speaking of cultural competency, so my mom is from South Carolina, and she thinks that castor oil and Vicks and possibly ginger ale are the three heal all from for everything out there. So I had to kind of let her know.
I said Tussin and some Tussin.
Robitussin. Robitussin. So it has, and so I would encourage people, in particular those who, check on your friends who are COVID-19 positive. Give them a call, because they're alone. They're in their quarantine alone. And so, and also, if you are quarantined, pick up the damn phone. I know in the beginning I felt like icky, but also you realize our human connectedness, and that just the fact that we are supposed to be connected, and you have a health component to it. But after this little party that they had, this is during the time I was having all that achiness. I felt better.
Sure.
From laughing and kind of kicking it with my friends. So
that's good advice. So people are
make sure
quarantining who don't feel bad for yourself.
Yeah.
Pick up the phone. And I think, you know, when Esme was, and my daughter named Esme, her name's Esme, and she was 10 weeks early. And our friends and family just wanted to help us or do something for us or talk to us.
Yeah.
And it's almost as much for them as it is for you, right? And so you have to let people. So I think what Tito's trying to say, and I don't want to take the words out of his mouth, but if you wind up being quarantined, pick up the phone. So it's actually you doing something good for your friends and family, that you pick up the phone and talk to them.
Yeah. You know, and some of the, you know, deepest conversations and some, you know, some of the most fun I've had in a long time has been had on
It's been great. Even for the people who don't have COVID, like, you know, I have like probably 5 different threads going with my boys. I have my childhood boys, my high school boys, my buddies from college. We do Zoom happy hours. The memes and the jokes that are going around are, most of them are coarse and graphic, but they're funny, right? And so the content that's out there is just showing you how great humanity is, right? And so my one last thing on COVID, and then I want to talk to you more about your experience as a city councilor and a government official, and what you think could be doing better is, do you keep thinking about, or have you tried to pinpoint, or do you know where you got it, right? Like that would be in my mind all the time. And like, so how, and say what you want, right? Like, I don't want you necessarily like throwing anybody under the bus or anything, but what do you think happened?
I hugged somebody. I know I was able to track back to someone who I don't believe they got tested, but they told me they weren't feeling well. So I think I kind of figured it out.
And you hugged them before
before that Saturday, yeah. So
I mean, you're an active person, you're a community person, and so you were where were you when you hugged that person?
I dropped off food, and I was a friend whose birthday, and I just you know, gave her a hug, dropped food off. And so the thing is, I think the other piece of this is, I will tell you, and this might be, you know, it's you and I on Zoom, and we're putting this out.
Yeah.
So the only weird so the piece that people do need to realize is that when you are COVID-19 positive, you have to make calls to all of the people who you've been in contact with. So it's like I had to make like 10 calls to people, and I this is so it felt like you were calling somebody and telling them you exposed them to an STI. So like you basically, it was like, I kind of have to let you know that you might want to go get checked out. Like,
but
so
I mean, you have to, and then that's responsibility, man. That's what you have to do, and I'm sure not everybody's doing that.
So you have to, and so
it's not you're not dirty, you're not gross.
No, you're not. And so you have to do that. And so you have to. So that's one thing you want to avoid. But the other big thing, man, if I, you know, they said an average person, if they are COVID-19 positive, over the course of a month, they would give 100 people coronavirus.
If they're not properly socially.
If they're not proper. Yes. Yeah. You and I. we would take out both of our cities.
Yeah.
Like you and I would literally take out the population of Springfield has gone down by 75,000 people because, and population of Boston's gone down by just
social people. Yeah.
Right. And so that piece is so critical. And then in particular, people who, so my case is considered a mild case because I was able, you know, all the stuff I told you, I was at home.
Yeah.
I didn't have to go to the hospital. I was outpatient in the hospital just simply for the test. So I wasn't hooked up to a ventilator, all of this stuff. The piece that I want people to understand very quickly is that when they're talking about stay home so we can lower the curve, what they're looking at is data on an XY graph. So in the state of Massachusetts, the worst case scenario, we have about 10,000 beds. They're talking about 172,000 people being